JoeTownsel.com. 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 JoeTownsel.com.
Well, hello, my fellow Trekkers, and welcome to another episode of Retro Trekkers Vintage Voyages. Now, what is Vintage Voyages anyway? Well, what it is, quite simply, is a revisit to a classic episode of Starbase 80, before it was SB 80. And these episodes were great. They are classics, this one especially. Captain John, then Commander Flobo, taking on an episode of any Star Trek and giving you their thoughts on it. This is wonderful stuff. The episode that they cover tonight is not so classic as far as TNG goes. Oh, far from it, my friends. This one is a stinker. Of course, John and Flobo had a lot of fun with it, but they are looking at Code of Honor from The Next Generation, the third episode of the entire series. Not a great one, arguably the worst one of TNG. It was written by Catherine Powers and Michael Barron. It is credited as directed by Russ Mayberry, although there's a little bit of a story about that John will get to in the episode you're about to see. It aired in October 12th of 1987. Wow. I have to apologize right off the bat, gang. I had ordered from Amazon my 11-foot pole. Just wasn't going to touch this one personally with a 10-foot pole, maybe an 11. Unfortunately, regardless, I didn't get either one from Amazon. So I'll just have to get my hands dirty along with John and Flobo and all of you. Please join the discussion. Tell us what you think. Why hesitate anymore to look at this really bad low point of TNG? Let's get right into it, gang. Here is John and Flobo discussing on Starbase 80 TNG's Code of Honor. Oh boy.
There's been so much talk about this episode. And it is from people who are just like, let's not talk about it. I don't know that helps. And it never goes away. This episode's always going to be there. So maybe we need to talk about it.
Let's do it. Yeah. Look, I understand where you're coming from. I remember when I came out here to California, I guess next month will be 14 years. Whew.
Wow.
I came out here to film school. And they took it down. Apparently, after I graduated, it was a big deal about it. But I went to film school in Orange. It's called Chapman University. And they just built this giant, movie studio type deal. And in the area, they had like by the equipment rental. If I'm going off topic, please stop me. If I'm rambling.
Oh, no.
They had
totally know what
like
you're
movie posters of like different classic films, like Annie Hall over here, The Close Encounters of the Third Kind there, 2001, and the one closest to the equipment rental was Birth of a Nation, not the reboot with Spike Lee. I mean the original Birth of a Nation. And
Lord.
I would ask, I would say, hey, you know, like of all the movies you could have put up there on a poster, for those of you who haven't seen Birth of a Nation, this is the reason why they say this. It's for the time, it was really technically advanced with the set pieces and all that. That's what the school said was the reason. But like, there's white people in blackface. They're like drinking whiskey. They're attempting to rape women. Like every black person there is bad. In fact, that movie was basically a recruitment tool to resurrect the Klan. Right. And I said, there's got to be another reason, another movie or so. They told me, well, no, you know, it's different context. And it's supposed to be, you know, let's show how the technical advancements of film. And I go, okay, I understood. And I vowed that day, week 2, that I would never donate a dime to Chatham University because it says that they just totally thought technical advancements was better than people. And they've since removed that poster. It was a big controversy. The point what I'm saying is I understand that context can change and you can sit there and say, well, you know, Gone with the Wind was a different time period. But you should ultimately have those conversations to say, is this racist? Why is it racist? Let's see why we don't do it again. Because this aired in 1987, about 20 years after the Civil Rights Movement, if you think about that, which is a very short time in the grand scheme of this country. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how the 80s were for you, and this is actually very appropriate to our conversation about this episode, but I felt like there was a message in the 80s, and this is weird, so bear with me. Okay. But I felt like there was a message in the 80s of, hey, race is solved. Not a problem anymore. I think the people involved in this episode were people who thought, well, we're going to talk about race, but that's not racist. And maybe that can happen, but certainly not here, and certainly not like this.
This is why it gets so difficult. So, for context, 87 was 19 years after the Civil Rights Movement, give or take, about 11 years after the blaxploitation, which was an overcorrection to the Civil Rights Movement, and about 4 years before the Rodney King incident, right? 4 or 5 years before the Rodney King incident. It does have a cyclical thing. Yeah. But there's other ways to say going into, we're talking about race, but I think at the top of it, saying we're going to have this alien race of black humanoids, because you don't really know what their race, well, you know what the race is, we know they're not humans, black humanoids dressed like traditional African garb, and they have their own sets of rules and customs. To me, it's a high risk. People always ask, you make jokes about X, Y, or Z in comedy. You can make jokes about rape or like child abuse. It's like you can, but the degree of difficulty is so high, it's not worth it. Gotcha. So now you have this thing where you already dress these people in traditional African garb, and you have this not only white or white-ish crew there. And they literally said in the first scene or the second scene, our culture is not as advanced as yours. I go, you better find a way to stick that landing. Because if you don't, it's going to be a problem. And well, it's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of disconnects. Let's get the story started so we can start hitting these bumps in the road.
Yeah.
Because, oh boy, there's a lot of them. When the episode opens up, we're getting the star log from the captain, star log entry, and he's explaining that there is a plague and they need a serum for this plague, and it's available on this planet. Now, the planet it's pronounced Ligon by Lutan, the leader that we meet, although Picard pronounces it Legon. Too.
Yeah, not racist. Oh, actually reminds me when Marlon Brando kept calling it Krypton in Superman 78. Like downtown Krypton. Did anyone tell him, hey, Greatest actor of all time. What are you doing?
I'm sure they did, and freaking knowing that Marlon Brando is Marlon Brando, he was like, "Yeah, we're already done. Moving on, folks. I got more scenes to shoot, and then I gotta go eat." So we get this. We get this mission, which is that the Enterprise has to open negotiations with the planet of Lagon 2 and try to bargain for or request this serum that they can produce and no one else can produce. And this is, now I have to jump back in time very quickly. I have always hated, and maybe you remember me saying this because I say this all the time. In science fiction, to me, the weakest story was always the Andromeda strain. It's always the sickness, the pandemic. And because you never need to show it. You just show, like, we just put some traces of red down here and just have him pretend he's dead. And that's all the special effects you need.
I've never heard this from you. Yeah, I never heard this from you.
It's the laziest thing in the world, talking about some contagion and some germs. And, it's just so lazy. There's no special effects. There's no monsters. There's no other cultures. All the things that I love in science fiction. Not there at all. Now, to their credit, they don't show us any of this. They talk about it, but it's not that real if you just talk about it. And of course, this is all how I felt before we went through a pandemic ourselves as people.
Yes. It makes sense. I mean, not to be like crass about it, but people that don't believe it exists because they didn't see it happen. So I totally understand. Yeah.
Right. There's that sensibility. So, I mean, I'm a little sensitive as they're talking about this, like, oh man. And they're saying like millions are going to die. Like we are on the verge of millions of people dying. That's very real to me now. I get that now. 2 years ago, couldn't have even penetrated this egg. But okay, so here's our problem. And now the solution. The solution is we have to meet with this leader, and his name is Lutan, and they're going to use their own transporters. And they've created their own transporters. So it's not that they're not technologically great. Like they have some technology. It's very, maybe very utilitarian technology. They don't have like the starships, warp capability and all that. They're not part of the Federation because they're not on the warp travel through space level.
Right.
I think that's the distinction that they've been trying to make. Here's what I wanted to ask you. So we get this scene where they go to a cargo bay where the Ligonians are beaming themselves up using their own transporter. Big crew of guys shows up. They're all dressed like genies. That's what they decided men look like on this planet. They're dressed like genies. Yeah. And one of the guys, total badass guy, is holding like this rolled up thing, and he throws it on the floor. And I'm like, wow, how's he going to do this? Well, they cut away to a reaction shot. Then they cut back, and he just kicks out this long red carpet that just comes unfurling. And then, bring, who beams in but Lutan, who then walks down the red carpet. Yeah, baby.
Hey.
What kind of entrance is that? You like that entrance?
African dictator. And that's what I'm talking about. It's okay. African dictators existed, and they're not ideal. I mean, they're not the best way to go to government, but it's not as overtly racist as you would think it would be. But you're looking at it from a Western perspective of here's an entire continent where the average person cannot tell you 5 countries or 10 countries that are on that continent. I remember this specifically growing up, listening to jaywalking and have people be like, downtown Africa? Like they didn't have any idea. But you have this emperor-like quality of this ruler that seems to be absolutely, he has a guy who his sole job is to carry a carpet around space. Like, if you think about that, like, compare that to Black Panther, where the guy was kneeling, goes, "We do not do that here," with the Wakandan accent, to being like, like I'm going to walk over the work of my constituents, and that to me was like, that moment I go, oh, they just aren't black people. They happen to be in a position of power, but a foolhardy power because it's a natural resource or non-living resource because there's a virus. And now they're trying to be almost like primitive, but not super primitive. Like, hey, we didn't make them complete dumbasses. We're good, right? You know,
that's clever. I like that approach. That would have helped here if we had had some human depth to what they were doing and how they were thinking and how they were, how this affected them.
Imagine that.
Imagine seeing things from their point of view.
Because it wasn't about them. Like, if it was about them and the inner workings of their culture, and it happens to have Starfleet as a secondary character, great. But you found a way to shift the entire culture of this black or say or Nubian or African-like society to Tasha Yar, who was blonde hair and blue eye, my favorite character and Boo Thing of the week, of course. But still, like, why'd you somehow find a way to objectify her as a thing and somehow undercut this entire culture in a show? You didn't have to do either one of those.
And they managed to do it basically in the first 10 minutes. Like, we have sealed down this, out of control otherness where black men steal the pretty little white girl. Ugh, just hideous.
Very. We see it a lot in tropes of two things: the super objectification of the white female form and the animalistic nature of the black male form. But granted, even though I have a film degree, I don't have to get into that because no one's really like watching movies that way.
Right.
But it does seem weird that your chief security officer is basically being commoditized, right?
Right.
Even if you're not a feminist, you can be like, wait a minute. She's not Tasha Yar the woman. She's Tasha Yar the badass. Until Armis totally kills her, which is really stupid of her, but I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we got to tackle that one too.
Oh, man. So mad. that gets me upset. That episode got me upset.
Seriously. I mean, it's always hindsight is always 20/20, and it's easy to look at this as a Star Trek fan. This is just getting away from race and just talking about the fate of Tasha Yar, played by Denise Crosby, and that this was probably the episode where she had the best shot to prove that she was invaluable to the show.
I understand what you're saying because it was a Tasha Yar centered episode, but we all know Star Trek, or at least the first versions of Star Trek, are very episodic, right? They go to the planet of the week, the week.
You can mix and match them.
Yeah. Once you have a character that was even in the conversation of being valuable, being like, I'm attracted to the despot. It's like, you've not endeared anyone to you at all because he's up to be the villain, right? Why would you even be involved with them? And even if he's a misunderstood person, next week is going to be another adventure. So, like, Denise Crosby tried as she might, but she did not. She was dealt a bad hand, and she played the best way she could. No, I get it, but here's someone who didn't know that when we first tuned in, and
Sure.
I guess I don't know if I can say it now or do the Armors. If you do an Armors episode, talk about that. But like, what endeared me to Tasha Yar was that here is someone in the auspices of the 80s that looked like a tomboy. I mean, it looked like somebody who probably wasn't binary. It looked like somebody who could have put you in a headlock, but maybe could also wear a dress and also be as feminine as what we consider heteronormatively what a feminist can be. That's why I like the fact that in the future, in the vein of the original series, that's why that will be the security officer. And that's why I was fine with it being Troy or whatever. Yeah. What I did not like about her arc in this season was that she was a security officer, but she was easily duped or had to be explained certain things, and then she got like taken out super quickly. It was almost like they made a mistake, but tried to double down that mistake instead of correcting it. Oh man, we didn't want this. Let's she's blonde, right? Let's make her dumb. And just feel like it was always a short change thing. Didn't help this week either.
Yeah. I definitely think you're right about that in the sense too that they would they would infantilize some of the characters a bit. We see in this episode, I'm sort of skipping ahead by mentioning this, but there's the relationship between Geordi and Data, where Data says, "Well, yes, my friend," He keeps saying, my friend, as if the person who wrote the script was like, do people know they're friends? I should probably write my friend in here. And okay, yeah, they're friends. We get it. They're talking like friends. Anyway.
Okay, that was actually one of my notes this week. Like, okay, there is an African analog dictator that is ruling their people with an iron fist and taking one of your crewmates, and somehow having and promoting a fight to the literal death. And some writers like, you know what? I think it'd be cool if Data tried to be a stand-up comedian. You in? Let's put it right here. Right here's where it should go. I go, what? And he's actually starting to know what a joke. Oh my god, that pissed me off more than Tasha Yar. Are you kidding me? This is important.
I love it, and I'm telling you right now, I'm just going to ruin the magic. I'm telling you right now, that's going in the highlight reel for this.
We have a highlight
reel. I've been working on trying to get some highlight reels, some edited versions of the show. That's beautiful. That is
so
beautiful.
dumb. I'm like, you pick now. This is the week.
Well, I mean, you gotta put some lipstick on this pig. This episode's a rough one.
Oh man.
There's so much weird going on there with the joke telling, but let's get back to the main I'm trying not to swear, but this one just pushes me to my limits. Do you remember in the 80s? Was it the 80s? I think it was the 80s. Yeah. Okay. Do you remember the movie Bloodsport?
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Let's recap that. Goodbye, everybody. See you next week.
This is my that would be fun. There's the whole idea. Is it the Kumite? Where it's the tournament of death. It's basically fights, everybody dies. And they've got the thing that was funny about Bloodsport was it was an inexpensive movie, and it was made overseas, and then everybody wanted to remake that movie.
Oh, why not?
And if you had HBO and or Cinemax, and you like to watch TV after 11 p.m., you were going to see tournaments to the death over and over. Oh, God. My favorite part is when they cut to the audience, and the audience is supposed to be like rich people, like betting on people killing each other.
Yeah.
And they're a bunch of extras who showed up in their one good suit.
the most shaggiest, drabbiest, the brown boxes of the 90s or late 80s or whatever.
You see, rich lady and rich guy, and he so clearly slept in that suit. And she's wearing a maid of honor dress from some friend's wedding, but they put a bunch of paste jewelry on. Anyway, we get to this fight to the death, and all I could think was, man, that is just one of the most beat 80s cliches I've ever seen. We are cheering for the fight to the death. Hooray!
Yeah.
Hooray, hooray. I'm sorry, but I've been to wrestling pay-per-views. You don't go for just one fight. You want to see a whole card. I
mean, I went to WrestleMania 26 to see if Shawn Michaels would beat The Undertaker on the second time.
Yeah, but you still watch the women's match, right?
That was the best one. I mean, Vicky Guerrero had a hog splash on the top rope. It was great. Yeah, that was a good match.
Vicky Guerrero, man, I love her so much. Okay, so we got to get to the point where they go to the holodeck. There's a weird scene right before that, actually, where I'm gonna call up my notes here. Where are you? Okay. Oh no. No. Let's talk about when they give the sample of the serum to Jean-Luc Picard. Now, before Hagon is the guy holding it, he's approaching Jean-Luc Picard, Captain Picard, and Tasha Yar, doing her job, steps in between them and says, "Hold on, I have to check that." And he says something like, "Step aside, female."
Yes. The 1940s serial voice. Stop us on.
She gets him by the wrists, steps back, nice little judo move, stretches him across her leg, down he goes. Hagon gets punked.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Everyone's amazed that she's, this chief of security. First of all, they're amazed by that, but now they're amazed by she takes down Hagon. Hagon's a nice physical specimen. He's a good, strong guy. Wow, this is weird. Of course, Hagon's horrified. And this is, and it's, there's a great little scene actually between Hagon and Lutan where Hagon says, "I'm really sorry. Please forgive me."
Right.
And Lutan says, and this is the line, "They are strange alien things. You bear no fault." Now that's a good thing in this episode is just as the Federation people, the Enterprise people are othering the people from Ligon,
yes.
the Ligonians are othering them. Okay. If it was
makes
50,
sense.
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
You come from your center of strength and you judge someone else to be the weirdo. If both sides are doing that, again, we kind of had a hint at something there that was kind of real. It's about othering. It's about not understanding, actively not understanding. But we also find out that Lutan has a scheme.
As they always do, those Negroes.
And he says,
"What's the scheme, John?"
He says, "This female may be exactly what I've been looking for."
Because
now, I suppose we're supposed to be watching it going, "He's got jungle fever."
I mean, it was late 80s, right?
It was late 80s. I mean, it's appropriate.
Yes, it is.
So again, the sinister black man towards the, white woman. It's very Birth of a Nation.
So I'm actually looking at some of the Memory Alpha stuff here too. Well, look, here's the deal. I kind of get it, and I try to get it as Tasha Yar's security officer. Gotta exert their physical dominance. If it was Worf, it would be him. But that goes away pretty quickly when he's like doing the double eye thing, where she's like, "No, Denise Crosby." I mean, back then, Crosby. She back then, she was like, "All right, yeah, I would too." But the thing is, man, come on. Like, is it really a point of dominance or is it sexual dominance? And we all know in media that has been a well-worn trope that the To Kill a Mockingbird, I can't believe a black guy has a sexuality with a white woman. So, like, that's why I go, is that the reason why he's being sold as a bad guy? Like, let me know. And that's why I try to give the show a benefit of the doubt. That's why I don't get equally like instantly as mad as I do. But yeah, that to me was like,
yeah. There's some very malevolent portrayals here.
Yeah.
And using tropes that are loaded with meaning and negative meaning on top of it. So, on one hand, they're telling a story, but on the other hand, they're taking a lot of shortcuts here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going through the racist forest.
I love it.
Picking the apples off the racist tree. And
the racist tree.
So, and then I know I'm going way too slowly here, but this is really where I wrote all my notes. When they meet with Lutan, they give him a gift, and it is a 14th century horse from China's Sung dynasty. Of course, Data corrects the captain that it's 13th century. What's the use of doing that? Why did they do that?
I think it's supposed to underscore that he's logical and that he wants to do stand up, but I hate the fact that nugget was dropped in the A plot to help serve the B plot. What you asked, Captain John?
I love it. I'm so glad I asked. But it just seems so funny to me that part of this episode is about how we talk a lot about the Prime Directive in this particular episode. And here we are, the main idea behind the Prime Directive. I know this isn't normally how people put it, but it's pretty much don't colonize.
Right. Yeah.
You know, don't use your technology, your knowledge of science, your weapons, your vehicles. Don't use these things to mow down a culture. Respect the culture. But isn't it funny? They're giving them a 13th century horse statue from the Sung Dynasty. You know, maybe some people on Earth wanted to keep that.
I guess it's put it at a big Starfleet yard sale. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's a weird thing, but the Prime Directive or General Order 1, I confuse the two because you use one on Discovery, is that they break this every week. And we'll jump ahead to it, but they basically showed up, totally toppled the monarch, and peaced out the next week. Are you kidding me? And no one that was a bad idea? Fine. Okay. Colonizer.
This episode was originally written to be about a planet of lizard people.
Say less.
And the culture that they were very much like was Japanese samurai Bushido culture. And it was called Code of Honor because Bushido is a code of honor.
Oh.
So what we run into in this episode is a scheming man who hides behind his culture's customs to do what he's doing. And they keep talking about the code of honor. And as a person sitting there watching it, I'm like, there's no honor here. This isn't honor. This is, I don't know. I mean, the word doesn't mean what it used to. At first I thought, well, is this pride? Is this vanity? Is it hubris? I don't know, but it doesn't seem like much of this is about honor. It's just a weird choice of words. And I think shows you how tortured this script was.
I didn't know all of that, but that makes way more sense. I figured, because I had written it down here, that it was more about the honor of the fight to the death and the swerve of Homegirl being revived. But if it is a Bushido thing, that is literally what Bushido means, I think. It's the code of honor. So
That's
I want to see that. Why not? Give me that one.
Yeah, and it got changed. Now, another thing that could be noted from this episode is that the original director actually was fired during the process of putting this together.
Probably thought it was what?
Russ
A
Mayberry.
spiked mitten? I'm out.
I know.
Crap.
Oh, that thing was nuts. Russ Mayberry was the director, and he was let go in the middle of shooting. And Les Landau, who is a assistant director, AD, ended up directing it, uncredited. But the word is, I don't know for an absolute fact, but the word is that Mayberry, his name was Mayberry, the whitest name in the world.
Pretty white.
Allegedly, he is the one who came up with making it all African American actors.
But what's the grounds? Like, what is it because of the stories of ancient Africa? Is it because of a racist thing? Is it? That's the thing I have. Like, it was a conscious effort to make the story about a black humanoid society, and I know the script is on top, but I could not for the life of me find like the clever, really deep secondary stories and themes and motifs to make it make sense. So if it's a cosmetic change, what was the grounds of that change?
I can only guess from my standpoint, but I've always identified myself as a white person who tries to be cool, who tries to be beyond
cool
racism. Well, thank you. It's not a lot of work to be cool to you. What you have to get over in a very white dominated world, and I mean, and in America, there's that. In Hollywood, there's that. At Paramount
Mhm.
Pictures, there's that. In Star
Really?
Trek, there's that. We're dealing with white people talking to white people about race.
Oh
and
yeah.
and saying, hey, by talking about race, black people can enjoy it too. So I'm doing the right thing. I'm awesome.
Right.
I think they were trying to tell us about a non-colonized culture, a non-Earth white people dominated culture. But they did it through the means of racism, which is almost always othering. They're so weird. They're so different.
Right.
Even though they try to point out, oh no, this is very similar to things that have happened on our planet as well. But one of the lines that kills me, it comes from Picard, where he basically uses the word evolve.
Yes.
Did that sting?
Yeah, we're not as no, because I think what sung more was in the ready room or the conference room. Homeboy said, "Yeah, we're not as advanced as you." Like, to me, that was a total act of deference, and I was like, "Well, if you're the head of state on the planet and you're saying this flying ship with a captain isn't as advanced, forget it. I'm out." Yeah.
I could argue all day to try to make it a good story, to say, well, this was part of his plan. This is, he's a really great talker, Lutan. He's a tremendous talker. Obviously, just super smart guy, knows how to play both ends to the middle. Let's just jump ahead to what his plan was. He kidnaps Tasha Yar. They do explain, and I think it's in that ready room scene, that on Ligon 2, the women own all the wealth and the land.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they don't go so far as to say the men don't own anything.
Right.
But there are precursors to that in Earth history. One of the reasons why Jewish people were so commonly in finance was because in Europe, Jewish people in many countries were not allowed to own land.
Oh.
So their wealth was literally wealth. It was literally cash and gold and what have you. But, you didn't become a lord if you were Jewish.
Right.
And so there is, that is something that does happen in cultures. But they are the culture. Like, they're not even the dominant culture on their planet. They are the culture.
True.
And that's just how it works. The women own everything. And I guess it comes with dowries.
Right. Right. And we still do that. I know people say dowries and they say, oh, that's ancient, or this part of the world, or that's over there. But as a wedding DJ, I can tell you, most people who pay for weddings are the father of the bride. Like, it's kind of a customary thing among cultures, for sure.
Yeah, that's very true. So we can understand that. We can get that.
Yeah.
It does become very important to the plot. So it's important to know that. And we also learn it from Hagon.
Hagon!
I keep bringing up Hagon, but I'm telling you, man, Hagon is the best story here. Because, he's the right-hand man of Lutan. He gets pushed around a lot. It becomes clear that I want to make sure I get her name right. It's Yarlina.
Yeah.
Where's our lady Yarlina? Did I not? So Yarlina is the wife of Lutan. All of his wealth is hers. And again, basically, the women own the wealth and the land. The men rule. It's a kind of patriarchy, and okay. Sure. Again, social science fiction. I'm always open to being taught about new, concepts of society. It's just part of social. It's part of science fiction, but I like to say social science fiction because I'm so clever.
I mean, you're top tier,
yeah. They go to the holodeck. And Lutan says, I want to see your holodeck. I understand it's how your officers train. And Jean-Luc Picard says, well, lots of things are done on the holodeck.
Yeah. I just got that. That's disgusting. That's
mean,
gross.
I know that's not how he meant it, but that's like, it's like somebody said, well, I understand you do training. And I'm like, well, we do a lot of sex too. I mean, come on.
See, now I can't hear that. That's disgusting. I want me to think about that at Sunday school and it'd be all your fault. Like, dang it, John, you ruined it.
God's like, Flobo, why do you hang out with John? Seriously. I put him there as a warning.
Nice
You weren't supposed to make friends with him. You're supposed to look at him and go, I don't want to be like him.
You're a homeboy now in space. You're my hero.
They go to the holodeck. Tasha shows them. She puts on a gi really fast. I just want to say, having taken a little martial arts as a younger man, she puts on the gi and then the obi, the belt. She ties it without even looking.
Hey, you know what? Why not exploit Asians too? I read it. What? I mean, there's black people over there. Why not just totally appropriate a martial art and use it to your advantage? I'm just saying, Tasha Yar. Still my favorite. Still my favorite.
I mean, it's true. She actually beats up a ninja.
Yeah.
White girl's ruling right now in the holodeck.
Why she could beat Armis, John? He's also blacker than him. I'm totally kidding. We're canceled. We're so canceled. I don't know.
Oh God. So and then once again, I only bring up that scene because once again, she does it. Hagon goes, well, anyone could do that. And Lieutenant goes, go ahead. And Hagon once again gets his ass kicked. This poor guy. Yeah. So okay, we've they steal Tasha Yar, take her to the planet. And then I love this. For a solid day, they try to hail the planet, and Lutan keeps letting it go to voicemail.
Yeah.
It's explained to them at some point that their culture values patience. So while our friend and, co-officer has been kidnapped, let's just be very patient.
Yeah, you gotta wait it out and then use all the options to your advantage.
You're not wrong about that.
Yeah, you gotta make sure these are the facts come in.
Now, I had read this story that yes, the visual effects come in. I had read this story that in an earlier script, and I can't remember which one it was. In an earlier script, Gene Roddenberry had kicked it back because one of the writers wrote a scene where the Enterprise fires a warning shot across another ship's bow. And he said, Federation doesn't do that. He had a big hand in rewriting this episode. And what did they do? Full power weapons exploded in the atmosphere over the planet. So they know they better give Tasha Yar back. And you're dealing with some powerful people.
I mean, that's cool. It's on brand. I like the first version. What about you? Your first version thing? I said, why not?
I mean, that works for me.
Yeah.
But this whole idea that, I was okay with Han Solo shooting first. Can I just jump?
Actually, he totally did.
I mean, he did. He totally did. He's a pirate, for goodness sake. He's a spice smuggler. Anyway, we got all this stuff going on. Basically, let me get back to. Basically, we find out that Tasha Yar. There's this weird scene where he's saying, "I did it for love," but no one believes that he's in love with Tasha.
Nope.
And then Picard and Counselor Troy visit Tasha, and Tasha gets Tasha Yar to admit that she was really pleased that he wanted her and thought she was attractive.
This is what I'm talking about. I'm just. You see that? You see this turban? Oh my gosh! You're Tasha Yar, man. All right. I get it. The trope is that the black male form is one thing, blonde another thing. But you focus for a second Why are you confessing? I understand she's a betazoid, but why are you giving? Oh man, he got that dong. Stop! You're causing a complete collapse of a society. Stop thinking about your pants.
It was the weirdest thing. I'm trying to see if I could find that quote because okay. So I found the quote. So this is Tasha. Oh no, okay. So this is Deanna. So Deanna says, Lutan is such a basic male image. Ooh, wouldn't you like to be called that? And having him say he wants you. And then Tasha Yar says, well, of course, it made me feel good when Troy, I'm your friend and you tricked me. Only so you'd think about it completely and clearly. What? What did any of that mean?
Troy with the German? Yeah, I get it. I get it. Look.
No, that's my imitation of Marina Sirius.
It totally doesn't pass with the Bechdel test, right? They're talking about another dude. But like, I don't understand how somebody who turned up her nose in one scene, tossed ninjas up to a point in another scene is always like, I was totally enamored by his charm.
You know what I'm
hearing?
He wasn't
kicking game. He didn't even have any pheromones. Like what? How?
What I'm hearing is a male writer is having a female say, I love it when men want me. That's what I'm hearing.
But it makes it worse. This is why they don't replay this one. We messed up big time.
They figure out the sort of diplomatic minefield that they're walking through. They're not going to get this serum because they can't replicate it. It has to come from this planet. And so they have to do the right thing. So they do everything they can to try to figure out, what all the customs are and how they can meet them appropriately. And now we're dealing with Lutan saying that he wants Tasha Yar to be his first one, which I think is a very nice way of saying old lady.
Oh, I thought he had like top 8 like MySpace. The first one. You could be number 3. Like I didn't have no idea.
You could be right because we do revisit later that someone is a number 2.
Yeah.
And he's been acting like a number 2 the whole episode.
Hey.
Dun, dun, dun. So there is an appearance. Someone just mentioned Starbase 14. Hey, big ups to Starbase 14. Good folks over there. We love you, Starbase 14.
Some guys owe me a couple dollars.
But a bunch of nerds over there. They don't know.
They owe me money. They owe me money. I don't know why. Why would I? 14. If you hear me.
So there's a big banquet that Lutan is throwing, and at this banquet, he announces that he wants Tasha to be his number 1. I'm sorry, his first one, his first
one,
his number 1 chick. And I'll stop using that phrase because you're my number 1, and I don't want to make it weird.
I wasn't thinking of it, but now I am.
It got weird. I'm very sorry about that. So there will be a big blood sport fight to the death, and all of the folks gathered with their thunder sticks. They all had like.
It was the future, man. Why are you judging the future? They all went to an OKC Thunder game. Yeah, that's all they did. No, you're right. It gets kind of weird to see something from the past in the future, I guess, or the present in the future.
I mean, they're trying to remind you. It's why all the men are dressed like genies. They're trying to remind you of, I mean, really, the idea I think was their planet developed just like ours did, except that we branched off at a certain point, and they went in this direction, we went in that direction. So they're more about this moral code and their social structure and less about science. Yeah, I kind of get that. It would have been a lot easier had you not said, and they're black.
Yeah. I mean, that's the big thing. And they're black and they're dressed like that. It wasn't like they were dressed in like business suits. They were dressed in, now obviously it was a pastiche of Arabian cultures, but I mean, if there's someone singing in Ohio, you're kind of like, oh, I get it. Yeah. But now the foreigner dress. Yeah. So like, I just feel like, yeah, you know exactly what they're doing.
I mean, This is not a beloved episode. We just have to remind people. Most people do not like this episode. Most of the people involved in it didn't like it. Gene Roddenberry always stuck up for it, and that's one of those, there's a lot of talk about Gene was losing his touch as this was being launched. And it's hard to deny. All right, so here we go. The big fight's coming up. And we've got Yar and Yarina. This would be like Flobo if you got in a fight with a guy and his name was Boyce Arena.
Kick his ass. Yeah, it seems super lazy. It seems super lazy.
You couldn't go in there and change the name from Yarina? Like, why would John be fighting Johnina? It's just weird. Anyway,
Johnina has, I don't know, like a right hook.
There's a there's a big wall of weapons. He has Geordi and Data come down to analyze the weapons. But they do come up with something very interesting, which is there's poison on the weapons. Poison is normally used in this fight. Blood and poison are found on these weapons. So it's looking pretty dire. Mm-hmm. So they do what the Enterprise does best. Actually, they put Riker in charge of it, and it's what Riker does best. He has a scheme.
Oh, Lord.
They present to her, they bring her the different sizes of her weapon. So I guess she can find if she's a medium or a large.
Why is that funny? I'm sorry. Oh no, it's not my size. Well, guess it's no fight to death.
Right. Oh no, we've got an extra small. We knew you were a petite.
Damn it.
We went to the juniors section over at the weapons place.
Sorry, no contest.
Lovely. So they're using a spiked metal ball on a glove. It's the weirdest, stupidest looking weapon I have ever seen in my life.
It's a mitten. That's what it was.
And it's got spikes, and they're all poisoned. So, like, you better not accidentally scratch your nose.
Oh, yeah. What way to go out? Oh, man. These mosquitoes, like... Did I win?
And my favorite scene, I mean, I hate myself that it's my favorite scene, is when Yarina's glaive gets knocked off her hand, flies into the audience, and some lucky guy is like, oh, man! He just dies.
Yep. It's not a joke. It's a joke.
What a terrible way to die. That's just awful. And that poor, the best part is he's like, it lands in his, he catches it. And then he's like, here it is. Here you go. And then he looks down and the spikes have gone into his chest. And he's wearing a genie vest so we can actually see it.
I'm glad.
So silly. What? The many silly deaths of Star Trek. This is probably one of the silliest.
Womp, 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 womp.
So, big fight. They basically do, they swing around on poles. Not quite stripper pulling it up, but still, they're swinging at each other. The other thing I love about this episode is the stunt woman who is in for Tasha Yar doesn't look like Denise Crosby.
Are you telling me you're treating people? I was on board the entire time. You shatter my innocence casually, good sir. Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Yeah.
I mean, look, I have a nose. Don't get me wrong. I have a nose, but that woman's got a nose. Denise Crosby's got a beautiful little nose, but then they put the stunt Denise in, and that girl's natural looking girl. Much respect. Good work. I like her. I like her fighting. And how about the outfits, man?
Okay.
Yarina is wearing like physical.
It was still the 80s, John. I mean, that permeates all. For a lot of people, the 80s never ended, you see. And even future cultures have had hot pants.
I just love that she's got the spangly like pantsuit and the matching rolled up headband.
You got to understand that these fights to the deaths are a big deal. So I would have an outfit already tailor-made for that kind of thing. Right?
You got a good point there. I can't argue with that. It's pretty important. And who are you wearing?
Oscar de la Killa. All right. Sorry, I was dumb.
No, that was good. I didn't have anything. Okay, so we get to the point where we go straight into the original Trek's amok time where Spock has to go back to Vulcan. He has to fight Stonn because his wife has set up this conflict that can only be settled in a big giant war. She chooses not to put Stonn in. She puts in Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk has to fight to the death with Spock. Maybe one of these days we'll do that episode. It is a great episode, but one of the painful things that was done, especially in the first season of Next Generation, is they repeated themes from the original series pretty literally. And this is one of those.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So I don't think I'm giving anything away when I say Tasha Yar actually beats Yarina. Yar beats Yarina. And she's dying because it's poison. She's dying.
She's dying. It's poison.
So she goes down. That girl is poison.
And classic.
And then is it really?
Yeah.
I
that poison into Motown Philly. Woo.
Woo. No, that would be great. I would dance to that.
See?
So Yarina hits the floor, and then Yar stretches herself across her, hops right on her. I won't lie to you. I got a little bow. Check a bow.
Oh, that's me every time Yar shows up on screen, bro. Have we not established this?
I respect.
Get out the way, Troy. Come on. That's skirt. Get out of here.
I totally respect it. Yeah. So they get beamed up, and then Picard's like, he turns to the doctor and is like, "Go!" He's like, "Move!" And so she jumps on top of her too. So now you get the redhead on top of the blonde, on top of the beautiful Yarina. Anyway, I don't need to tell you about what I think about late at night. I will say this. They managed to bring
like
her
7
back.
p.m. What do you mean? Wait, what do you think about now?
I'm talking about in the wee hours when I'm like, oh, Tasha, yeah. She is brought back to life. They set up Tugon. Tugon. Already completely forgotten his name. Lutan. They set up Lutan. And he's like, "Hey, wait a minute. What the? She was dead." But if she wasn't dead, the whole deal is off. All of this is off because she was supposed to die. Someone was supposed to die in that fight. And he believes them when they say, "Oh, no, she died. We just brought her back." Now we get the final piece of the puzzle here, which is if she wants to, Yarina can just dump Lutan. And just say, you're not my number guy, you're my number one guy anymore. You're not my first follower. You're not my top 8. I can't remember what it's called. And then she says, Hagon was like so concerned during the fight. Hagon cares about me. Hey, Hagon, you want to be my main guy? And Hagon's like, that's all I ever wanted, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's kind of beautiful. And then she's like, well, it is, because now she's like, and I can have a number 2 guy, and Lutan, that's you.
Yeah.
Yeah. In case Hagon's not feeling good one day, you get to be the husband that day. But that's your job. You don't get to rule anymore, because now Hagon, the guy who got his ass kicked by everybody, gets to win. That was kind of nice.
No. It wasn't. I said it before, but Starfleet somehow showed up to a planet, exploited a culture, totally reneged an entire tradition, redefined what life and death was, toppled the monarchy, and just flew off to next week. And we're just like, well, yeah, that guy was a jerk. It's like, but they had rules. They had rules, Starfleet, and you just saw them.
Oh my
Are
God.
you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Regime change. They just did regime change.
Absolutely. Prime directive. Hey.
That might have been a Section 31 story, because that's basically space CIA.
Want the old nobles and the old guard being gassed out in the streets because Starfleet wanted to bring home Tasha Yar. This is madness.
Well, I mean, I don't know how important it is to throw these out there, but there are some great quotes about this show. Jonathan Frakes has referred to this episode as a racist piece of shit.
I agree.
I love it so much.
He's right.
At a sci-fi convention in Toronto, he told the audience, the worst and most embarrassing, and one that even Gene would have been embarrassed by, was that horrible racist episode from the first season, Code of Honor. Oh my God in heaven.
He's right.
Brent Spiner says this was the worst episode we ever did. He does say it's an inadvertently racist episode. There's a lot of arguing, and it's all from the white people on the show about
Right.
It was accidentally racist. I didn't mean it to be that racist,
What was the intent, though? Because the moment you had black actors and you dressed them in patterns we associate in the Western world as King Tut's headdress, you've made that intentional. It wasn't like you said, oh, I want to do a black-centered story, and the head of the household is black, and the woman is somehow considered to be marginalized. That's inadvertently, oops, we forgot, or we're going for that, but it happens, clumsy. But you dressed them a certain way, uniformly, and they literally say, well, we're not as advanced as you guys. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, white people. No.
I totally hear what you're saying, and I think where it came from, I think that maybe I've already mentioned this, but I think that's in the othering. A lot of people don't want to hear that nowadays. Oh, I don't want to hear about this thing about othering, because they don't want to learn one more thing about how racism is, created and kept alive. Most people think racism is birth of a nation.
Right.
And it is. But racism is so many things. And I think it's like, well, this is a culture that's almost impossible to understand. Really? And how are you going to show that? Well, they're all going to be black.
Yep.
Alien
to me.
And I'm trying to remember who said it, but somebody said, and it's just my favorite line, which was, I don't know what Gene was thinking, but basically this is a 1940s version of what African people were.
Yes. King Solomon's Mines or whatever. Yep.
Yeah. There you go. That it's this, again, it's the othering, we want to see adventures in, moviegoers want to see adventures in Africa, but it's got to be a white guy and he's got to be named Tarzan.
Oh yeah.
Which brings up that great Muhammad Ali line of, I'm watching Tarzan and he can talk to the lions and he can talk to the elephants and the giraffes, and all the black people around him can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's where they live.
Right.
They don't have this. They don't have these powers, but the magical white guy does. Anyway.
He was an import. I mean,
he was an import.
He was special.
And Lord forbid you ever read any of those Edgar Rice Burroughs stories. They are so racist.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, just crazy. So this episode has definitely weighed on a lot of people's shoulders. A lot of people wish it had never been made, wish it had never been distributed. When they first did it in syndication and showed it, I can't remember who made the decision, but they did not show it in reruns that year.
Right. I see that.
They
smart
knew
call, actually.
Very smart call, because at this point, their ratings were falling. They had good, strong ratings for the debut, held on to good, strong ratings for the second episode. This is the third one shown. It's frequently referred to as the fourth episode, but that's because they count the first 2-hour episode as 2 episodes. They shouldn't, but they do. So this was literally the third one. And the ratings were taking a dive, starting with this episode, and then would start going down each episode for a little while.
Yeah.
And this was also one reason why they didn't want to repeat it, was they were afraid they were going to get canceled. And if this weak-ass episode was seen as one of the very typical episodes of Star Trek Next Generation, it would have been a one-season wonder. You never would have seen this show again.
So
it's very it's very hard to look at now. I hope we have provided enough humor for both anyone watching this, but also for each other to get through this. And this is the part of the show where I want to go, Flobo, what else you got on your notepad?
Oh man, this one here was a trippy one. Okay, so having an Afro culture, cool. Having a culture set in their own ways to underscore their own is cool. Together, blah. It's like Jim Gaffigan once said: fruit, cool, cake, great, fruit cake, nasty crap. What was that scene about everyone on the bridge talking about how attractive Yar was? Like, just like, Yar is attractive. You're right there, Troy. She sure is. Like,
that whole thing about attraction and everything. It's like, we'd have to have a seminar with HR nowadays if you had that conversation on the bridge.
I just imagine Troy. Yeah, so I just said she was a hot piece of ass. What's the big deal? All right, so I'm totally getting Live and Let Die vibes. You seen that movie?
Yes.
Live and Let Die.
Oh man, Yaphet Kotto, man. Actually, there's so many bad things in that, and one of them is Yaphet Kotto's lust for Jane Seymour.
Oh, Solitary, yeah. I'm dating myself. I know what that is. Yep. Hey, a woman is stepping up for her rights to fight and to have a fight with another woman, but I feel weird about it because it's totally in defense of another culture. It's something I don't want, or do I? I don't know. That was it. And Tasha Yar beat black culture with a bare hand. So Tasha Yar.
Oh man!
And as to Starfleet took to society to literally says they're not as advanced as them, then pieces out to next week. See you next week, Starfleet, destroying cultures all over the galaxy. So much fun. I love this episode.
I mean, there's so much to this, and thank goodness, like, you don't hate Star Trek now. That's all I can feel.
No, you know what is funny? In watching it, it's kind of like, it must have been like back in the day. And then you look up the year it was made after the fact, like, 87. That was pretty close. I already gave it the pass. All right. So it wasn't that bad. And it doesn't tick me off as much as a Tuvok episode, to be honest with you. It's just kind of just clumsy. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think Gene Roddenberry meant well. Just not one of my favorites.
Yeah. And I can say, look, Gene Roddenberry, there are a lot of people out there who are, like, let's say older than 50, and I'm one of them. And you can see sometimes with their hair or the clothes they wear, you can see like they're sort of frozen in time. There's kind of a year that was the best year for them. I see it a lot on like makeover shows where it's like, we're talking to this beautiful woman. She's 65 years old, but she's got hair down to her butt, and we can't talk her into cutting it. And that's a problem. And you find out from talking to her, it's like she's had long hair ever since she was 20 years old. And when she was 20 years old, it was the best time of her life. And so,
wow, that's depressing.
She carries these things with her, and she doesn't, she's not age appropriate because she's stuck in the past. And I think that happened with Gene Roddenberry.
Oh, I was wondering where you're going with that. Yes,
Yeah. And like you could see like Gene, like pictures of Gene Roddenberry, long hair, you wear cool clothes and stuff. But I think it's because in his head, he was stuck in a certain year where everything was great and he just had all the money and all the chicks and all the advantages and all the things that he could possibly have. And now it's 1987 and he's still like, I think the black people should be like genies. I mean, they were great actors that they hired.
Yeah, sure.
Really good actors. The guy who plays Hagon, I actually looked him up. He worked every year of his life.
Wow.
Yeah, motion pictures and recurring roles on TV shows, guest star roles. These folks worked. They were good actors. It's just you can't say no a lot of times when you take a job and you show up and they go, here are your puffy pants.
Oh yeah, that's true. It doesn't matter if you're a wrestler or an actor or just at a certain level. You're like, I gotta eat, and I'm doing something in my field. I'm eating. I'll just do it.
Yeah. I mean, there are compromises that come with absolutely every job. So a lot of times when you're an actor, I can't tell you how many times I would go for things. I would go for things and then get there and they'd be like, "You're going to be taking your shirt off." And I'm like,
yeah,
I don't have that kind of body. No. And they're like, oh, come on. How bad could it be? Like, I've literally had that. Come on, show us your boobs. I've literally had that.
That's not what they said.
This show went off the rails so long ago.
Oh, now we in the show? Was that too awkward? Oh, I'm so sorry. Let a guy hype up his friend anymore. Forget it.
No, man, that's not you. That's like, how did I get to talk? How did I get to the point where I'm making the people at home picture me naked? How did we get there? How can we fix that? Flobo, anything you want to say to close out Code of Honor?
I said it twice before, but it's not that bad. It's not great. I would not recommend it. It is clumsy and it's definitely intentionally racist. But Star Trek, I've come to learn, has done bigger mistakes, and so it's kind of a weird thing by association. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Part of the journey is going to the problem areas, and that's Star Trek for you. They will make bad moves all the time.
All the time.
But, more good than bad, I would say.
Yeah, I'll say so. This Discovery, that's pretty sad.
I mean, when you get to Discovery, when you get to DS9, you get to a much more balanced, stories of people, which is ultimately all Gene Roddenberry really wanted to do. He wanted to do adventure and blood and thunder, but he also wanted to do very personal people stories. Next Generation got to be very good at that.
Right.
So, there's a lot of humanity. That was one of the main things they tried to do, was show humanity by showing aliens and how much humanity there is, shared between us and the aliens. So there's a lot. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of good deep in it. If you don't let it throw you, if you don't let it make you so mad, you walk away from it forever. Code of Honor tried. It didn't succeed. Do you show something or recommend something or discuss something? Do you put a spotlight on something that is bad? And it's not just like bad in quality of a TV show. It's bad for humankind. It's bad for people. It's racist in this case. And I wasn't sure how you would feel about it. Did you know going in that this was a terribly racist episode?
So just for some backstory, I have recently watched TNG, and by the time you had mentioned this episode, I had seen it before. So this might be a little bit of a shock to you. It's not as bad as other people have told me.
No kidding.
You know what I'm saying? Like yes, we'll go into the nitty gritty of it. It's pretty bad. Like it's pretty awful. But like I do feel people are like, oh guys, I know you're a new Star Trek fan. I know your person of color, but I apologize on behalf of the fandom. Like no, it was clumsy. It was dumb. But I don't think it was nearly as like flippant with the black experience, if I want to be honest with you, as say the Tuvix episode, where some guy gets merged. Black Vulcan gets merged with another being and is rejected, told to work in the kitchen, and then decides to say, "Hey, we kind of like you. Oh, I want to be free." Nah, sorry, reverse that. Like to me, it doesn't. But I know what you're saying, and then we'll get into the reasons why in this episode. So it's bad. It's just more like tone deaf than like outright offensive.
Oh my goodness. Well, there you have it, fellow Trekkers. Code of Honor, as reviewed and reacted to by Commander Flobo Boyce and Captain John, back on the good old Starbase 80. Wow, was this a stinker or what? We all knew this going in. That's why it's so much fun. Flobo made many references to Armus. Now, who or what is Armus anyway? Well, Armus is the dreaded oil slick that knocked off Tasha Yar in the infamous episode Skin of Evil. And Flobo was heartbroken, as was John, as was I, because we all love Tasha. But Flobo really loved Tasha. Don't tell him I told you that. And to see her knocked off in such a pitiful way in Code of Evil with just, I'm sorry. Oh, I misspoke a little there. The episode, of course, was Skin of Evil. We're talking tonight about Code of Honor. So who knows? Maybe a crossover sequel is in the works. We'll see. But listen, I want to thank you for taking this lovely trip down stereotype lane with John and Flobo and me as your host tonight. Had a lot of fun. We'll see you at the next Vintage Voyage. In the meantime, here's Captain John with what's coming up this week on the Weber Internet Thingy. Take care and live long and prosper.
Well, thank you very much, Joe Townsel. I didn't check my audio on this. I bet it's bad. Look at me showing up. Just, oh boy. Anyway, I totally agree with you, Raphael. Isn't Joe such an amazing host? He's amazing. I absolutely love it. He does a style that I couldn't even touch that style. And it's just so warm and so perfect. And I know Joe's watching. So I always love, what? Life is too short to not compliment your friends. Raphael, you are a wonderful, wonderful person to have in a show's community. We are lucky to have you. Chris, I don't know if you'll be watching this later, but yes. And Raphael, you're so right. Same exact shirt. I didn't even mean to do it. It was warm today, and I've always liked this shirt. But yeah, it looks like I'm mostly naked, and that's bad. That's not good for the show. Anyway, let's talk about what's going on in the future as of when we are recording this. This is mostly for you, Raphael. Coming up on Tuesday, Eric Kramer joins me and Joe Townsel as your Retro Trekkers go to an episode that I've never seen before. Eric's never seen before. I still have to watch it. I think I'm watching it tonight. Timeless from Star Trek Voyager. Joe has recommended it as one of the alternative realities of Star Trek. He makes up these amazing categories, and I love alternative realities. So yeah, we're going to check it out. We're going to check out Timeless from Star Trek Voyager. That happens on Tuesday night and 7 p.m. here on the West Coast and 10 p.m. on the East Coast. And then Thursday night, my show, Mr. Weber's Web O Mystery, will feature Jimmy Stewart playing a character that he loved to play. He really, really wanted to get this character on television. It did not work out, but he got it on radio, and it's called The Six Shooter, and it's really good. Oh boy. As radio shows go, as audio drama goes, as Jimmy Stewart performances go, it is terrific. Done by just an absolute crack squad. Great writing, great music, great sound effects, great fellow actors, just terrific. Uh, sorry. Raphael's making me laugh in the comments. And then a week from tonight, next Sunday, we're going to do more of our Retro Trekker programming because we had to move a couple of shows around together. Little weird things going on in life right now. So we will be pulling out something that I've wanted to do ever since Joe started doing the beats. And we're going to do the best of the beats. We're going to show you some of the little mini movies that Joe puts together for our Retro Trekkers episodes because they're so good. I absolutely love them. I think they stand on their own. And I'm very happy. Joe is pretty much going to be our guest on that one hour. My guest, and I can't wait to talk to him about these beats that he's put together. There will be 3 of them on this episode, and this is definitely going to happen again because I love so many of these segments that he does. We're going to have a blast with it. And that is it. I think that's it. Raphael, let my participation on these shows be my epitaph. Epitaph? Is it epitaph or epitaph? I think it's epitaph. Hey man, we're lucky to have you, Raphael. Everything you've been through, everything in your life, everything, having bad health and then coming back from your bad health. Look, I'm going to get a little corny here. I do believe in fate sometimes. I do believe that some people are fated to meet each other and are fated to be friends. It's weird. You never could guess that it's going to happen, but it's one of those great things that happens sometimes. And there you go. Hey, Joe. And I love that you love making beats, Joe. I love that so much. All right. Well, here I am, just a man full of love for his friends. And hey, if you've gotten this far watching this, I cannot help but love you too. Thank you so much. No music to go out on. I didn't prepare that. So I'm just going to click the button and say goodbye. And yes, absolutely, Raphael. You found your tribe, and it's fun, and we're glad to have you. Okay, that's it. No music to go out on. I wish I'd thought about that, but I hadn't. So I'm just gonna put the chairs up on the table and turn the lights off. Have a great rest of your night. Hopefully you're available on Tuesday. We'd love to see you join us for Retro Trekkers. And good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.